Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
We as citizens have to come together to build things like this. You know, you can't rely on the government to do everything.
Local bicyclists have created a beacon that represents fitness and well-being. Coming up, we'll explain more about that, take you to the ribbon cutting, and tell you where it's located. Thank you so much for joining us here at 9 and streaming with us on the CBS7 YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We begin tonight with oil and gas news, where an uncontrolled leak in Crane County has prompted a no-fly zone, criticism, and environmental concerns as well. The leak was first discovered on property along Highway 329 earlier this month, but an investigation into the incident is still ongoing. Plus, the no-fly zone was extended. This morning, CBS7's Hannah Brock met with oil and gas attorney Sarah Stogner and well control specialist Hawk Dunlap near the site. Hannah?
Well, Stogner and Dunlap have seen many leaky wells out here in Ward and Crane County, but they say it's the circumstances around this one that are unique and especially concerning. Neighbors often call on Stogner and Dunlap for help. Both have dealt with leaky wells on Antina Ranch, where Stogner lives and works. She's a vocal critic of the Railroad Commission, which regulates oil and gas. A neighbor in need is how Stogner learned of a leaky well on December 7th. She says it's about a half-mile from a blowout that CBS7 first told you about in January 2022, which shot brine water over 100 feet in the air.
I was not surprised at all. I mean, I keep telling people it's a game of whack-a-mole. And until you get the subsurface system under control, you will continue to have issues.
Dunlap and Stogner documented what they saw on drone and on foot. With years of experience in well management, Dunlap, the Libertarian candidate for the RRC, says the leak did not have a well bore, which is unique.
The pressurized system found a point of least resistance, and it manifested itself in the middle of a pasture. There is a well not too far away, but it's hard to say what the real culprit is.
Stogner says that shows there's major subsurface pressure issues related to water injection. This latest leak is just one part in an ongoing conundrum of determining where the water is coming from and who should fix it.
It might, pop up 200 yards this way, it might pop up 2 miles that way, but all of this is a system, and so people need to understand these things will continue to happen unless and until we get our produced water injection under control.
Stogner says she believes the no-fly zone was in response to her drone documentation. The Railroad Commission requested a no-fly zone around the area that was issued first on December 17th, then extended on December 19th until January 8th. The commission cited a drone that was, quote, dangerously close to crews and equipment. Now Stogner and Dunlap look on from Highway 329.
Haven't been able to get any updates from what we could see from the side of the road. I wish them well. I hope they start to realize that this is a huge problem, and you can't put a Band-Aid on a severed artery. You've got to get to the bottom of it.
The commission's investigation is still ongoing, and they're using vacuums and truck pits to clean up. A spokesperson could only confirm that water was detected in the area, and the RRC says there are no toxins. Here at CBS7, we'll continue to bring you updates on this story. For CBS7 First Alert News, I'm Hannah Brock.
Now to headlines in our community, where in a couple of weeks, members of the community will be able to participate in a baseball camp to benefit a little girl battling cancer. Mashers for Marley will help benefit 6-year-old Marley Mungia, who was diagnosed with neuroblastoma at the age of 3. This form of cancer develops from immature nerve cells. She was placed in remission last year, but unfortunately her cancer has returned. Marley and her family were born and raised in Odessa. They had to relocate back in 2021 to Fort Worth to be close to Cook's Children's Hospital, where Marley gets her treatments. Although they've moved away from West Texas, the West Texas support still follows them to this day.
It was a blessing to be from the West Texas area because of how people help each other. And just how much support we received and how much support we still receive from them, having, been away for the last 2 years.
The event is being hosted by 5-Tool Baseball, and it will include multiple major league, minor league, and collegiate baseball players. Now a story all new at 9, where the West Texas Gazelles of Odessa, along with several others, gathered today for a ribbon-cutting ceremony. 2, 3. Woo! Good time there. The ceremony was unveiling a new shaded structure located near Mission Fitness off Highway 191 in East Odessa. The funds were gathered by various businesses and organizations throughout the community, but spearheaded by WTGO and the Odessa Downtown Lions Club. They hope this new shaded area becomes a beacon of community and fitness.
It's really good that people come together in the community, for fitness. A lot of times we don't focus a lot on that. And so having this cycling little area in Mission Fitness is really good.
Also at the event was Odessa Mayor Javier Hoven and Medical Center Health System President and CEO Russell Tippin. Time now for a check of your CBS7 First Alert forecast on this cold Tuesday night. Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller is with us now. Tom, like we mentioned, might be a frigid start to our Wednesday.
It looks that way. It looks like a hard freeze in the forecast overnight tonight as we're underneath a cold full moon. That's actually what it's called, is the cold moon, the December full moon. As we take a look at those temperatures again today, we only topped out into the lower 50s. We can see the 40s up towards the Lubbock area. That's that front that dropped down across the area. And again, it's going to make things rather chilly. It's already into the mid to upper 30s out there across the Permian Basin with 35 out at the Midland National Air and Spaceport and Andrews right now. Not a lot of breeze. We've had a light northwest to north wind across the area, but for the most part, though, things are going to end quietly here in 2023. Just rather chilly out there. There's another strong cold front's on the way New Year's Eve, and that's going to make for a cold start to 2024. Rain, well, it looks like we're going to end the year about the 6th driest on record in the way of rainfall out there. Not much in the forecast to start the new year.
Tom, thank you. In headlines across Texas now, while thousands of migrants are entering the U.S. illegally every day, more than 11,000 migrants continue to wait in shelters and camps on the Mexican side of the border. That's what CNN Rosa Flores found when she visited Eagle Pass.
As a migrant caravan forms in southern Mexico with thousands from Central and South America, the scene on the U.S. southern border in Eagle Pass, Texas has changed. The areas where thousands of migrants were waiting outdoors to be transported for immigration processing last week were emptied out this week. The flow this morning appearing to be down to a trickle. A senior Customs and Border Protection official telling CNN that while the scene in Eagle Pass has improved, the agency is not out of the woods yet. CBP still grappling with elevated numbers of migrant encounters on the U.S. southern border. More than 11,000 migrants are waiting in shelters in northern Mexico, 3,800 in Tijuana, 3,200 in Reynosa, 4,000 in Matamoros, many hoping to enter legally, but some opting to cross illegally, say community leaders. U.S. federal authorities reported a 7-day average of more than 9,600 migrant encounters in December. That number was 6,800 at the end of November.
Secretary of State Blinken.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is scheduled to meet with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador Wednesday in Mexico City. The Biden administration is expected to put pressure on Mexico to do more to stem the flow of migrants. To deal with the flow, CBP has temporarily suspended operations at several ports of entry in several states to reassign personnel to process migrants. This, as CNN learns from a CBP official, that the surge is in part driven by pseudo-legitimate travel agencies abroad that promise trips to the U.S. but instead connect travelers to smugglers south of the border. That might explain this recent scene in Arizona.
I work for CNN, and I'm wondering where you're from. What country you're from?
Senegal.
Senegal? 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 Senegal, everybody from Senegal.
Smugglers are dropping off 500 to 1,000 migrants in remote areas of Arizona, the official said, creating a logistical nightmare for Border Patrol agents who have to find ways to transport them for immigration processing. For the volunteers who distribute water to migrants in the desert, it's the children who get them every time.
It's heartbreaking when you see the little children.
As the Biden administration tries to impose legal consequences to illegal entry, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security says it has deported or returned over 445,000 migrants. The agency says that figure exceeds total removals in fiscal year 2019. Well, now for an eye on your money, where a growing number of major retailers are now charging for shipping returns. The logistics company Narvar says 40% of companies are adding a fee, up from 31% last year. Macy's, Abercrombie, J.Crew, and H&M have all added shipping fees for their mail-in returns. Even Amazon is now charging $1 for packages taken to UPS. Narvar estimates a $100 item could actually cost a retailer $32 to get back and then resell. That's with transportation to the warehouse being the very first major expense.
When it arrives in the warehouse, it's got to be scanned and put back in and made available to sell. And there's labor involved with all of.
You may be able to avoid the fee if you return a gift to a physical store. Amazon won't charge if the item is taken to a Whole Foods or Kohl's.
If you are thinking about making a return, make sure that you don't open any packages, leave all tags in place. Things like that can really help expedite your return and make sure you get the full value back.
Most retailers allow returns until the end of January, but there are exceptions for electronics. And of course, the most important thing is a receipt to make sure you get back your value of your gift. Data from the National Retail Federation shows that customers spent back nearly 17% of the merchandise that they purchased last year. That's up from 8% in 2019. And the holiday season drove up U.S. retail sales as well for the end of the year, but at a slower pace than the last time last year. Today, MasterCard Spending Pulse reported that retail sales jumped 3.1 percentage points from November 1st to December 24th compared to the same time last year. The data came from in-store and online retail sales, and the reports say that spending increased in many areas, with restaurants seeing a nearly 8 percentage point jump and apparel increasing 2.4%. Retailers had actually projected slower growth this holiday shopping season due to inflation, higher borrowing costs, and the resumption of student loan repayments. And now for a look at today's top headlines shown in real time with real viewers on CBS7.com. See all of those stories and more by downloading our app or visiting our website. Still ahead here at 9, a powerful winter storm is sweeping across portions of the north central U.S. More than 5 million people are under winter weather alerts. All of this happening during a busy holiday travel week. We'll have the impacts of the storm and your environmental news next here at 9. Much of the central U.S. is dealing with treacherous travel conditions as a winter storm pummels the plains. Some states had to shut down major parts of interstates due to the dangerous conditions on the roads. Jen Sullivan is tracking the impacts of this storm.
A powerful winter storm is sweeping across the north central U.S., bringing blizzard conditions and freezing rain.
The winds are going to pick up. The snow will reduce visibilities for several hours.
Multiple states are in the path of this storm. Parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, Kansas, Colorado, and Wyoming are under blizzard warnings. Some areas could get up to a foot of snow between Monday and Tuesday. In Nebraska, the wicked weather causing multiple semis to jackknife on Interstate 80 Monday. The conditions were so bad that state patrols shut down roughly 70 miles of the interstate and responded to nearly 150 weather-related incidents. In South Dakota, heavy snow and winds causing poor visibility and slippery roads. I-90 was closed in both directions for more than 200 miles. And in North Dakota, the Department of Transportation had to close portions of I-94, warning drivers to stay off the roads.
It's not recommended to travel throughout that part of the country.
As the system shifts east, there's a threat for potential flooding across portions of the mid-Atlantic. Meanwhile, major metro areas like New York City and Boston dealing with dense fog. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Well, we are going to be looking at some chilly conditions in the forecast, especially in the mornings. We'll talk about the forecast for the rest of 2023. Coming up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, let's take a look outside at Starbright Village this evening, where everything is lit up beautifully under that cold full moon that we have out there. You can see the lights for the rest of the weekend, into the weekend out at McKinney Park, where currently it's 41 degrees, but temperatures are dropping off rather quickly out there across the area. Big storm system across central portions of the U.S. is starting to move out. And to the northeast, we have a good northerly flow in the upper levels starting to roll down the Rockies into West Texas. So that's got some cold air associated with it. And if you stepped outside this evening, you know it's cold. And it looks like the evenings, overnights are going to be rather chilly here over the next couple of days. High clouds will be couplers spreading across portions of the Texas Panhandle. That's going to stay to our north. And these high clouds down here off the Pacific right into portions of South Texas are going to stay off to our southeast, so we're expecting a clear, very cold night out there as that front again whipping through the area with a northwest wind. It's lightened up quite a bit, but we're seeing the chilly conditions in the forecast, and as that storm system moves away, again, we're going to see more cold air start to spill down across the area. Temperatures across West Texas again are dropping into the mid-30s currently from Amarillo back into the Permian Basin. 48 in the Dallas area. So again, you can see the effects of that front spilling in that colder air across most of the state. Now, West Texas Futurecast, not a lot in the way of cloud cover really here. Coming up tomorrow morning into the afternoon hours, some high clouds will spill in from the north a little bit tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. Really be about it. That's the last part of that storm system moving away from us. But for the most part, though, seeing lots of sunshine in the forecast, mixed in with a high cloud occasionally. Again, clear and cold tonight, dropping down into the upper 20s. So expecting pretty good freeze in the forecast. Tomorrow, only rebounding a little bit into the lower 50s as we're going to continue to carry a north wind across the area. And again, bitterly cold mornings in the forecast here over the next few days. Afternoons rather chilly through Friday. Temperatures moderate a little bit this weekend, but it'll be short-lived as we wrap up 2023. Another cold front's going to whip in, and that's going to make for a chilly start to the new year.
Tom, thank you. Still ahead, we are taking a look back at the year that was in health headlines. That's next in your stories here at CBS 7 News at 9. A tool to fight the opioid epidemic became more widely available, and new screening guidelines hope to prevent lung and breast cancers. CBS's Michael George looks back at the year's top health stories.
Drugs used for weight loss like Ozempic and Wegovy soared in popularity in 2023.
They stimulate the pancreas to make more insulin. They make you feel fuller faster. They reduce your appetite.
A study from Novo Nordisk, the drug maker behind Wegovy, found it can also reduce the risk of heart attack, stroke, or heart-related death by 20%. Two new therapies to treat patients with sickle cell disease are now available. One uses a gene editing therapy known as CRISPR.
You're changing somebody's DNA, so obviously you want to make sure that the corrections you're making are the ones you want.
In July, the FDA approved the first over-the-counter birth control pill, called Opill. 2 months later, the agency approved Narcan as the first over-the-counter medicine that can reverse opioid overdoses.
If it's in the store, in the aisle, right next to ibuprofen, it really also helps to reduce stigma.
CVS pulled phenylephrine from shelves after an FDA advisory panel decided the popular decongestant likely provides no more relief than a placebo.
Talk to your local pharmacist, local provider, about what the alternatives are.
The fight against Alzheimer's disease received a boost when the drug Leqembi received regulatory approval. Trials show it slows early progression by about 27%. Updated COVID-19 vaccines that target recent variants became available in September, though just a small fraction of Americans have gotten the shot.
I know folks want to leave COVID in the rearview mirror, but unfortunately it is still here.
Protection became available against RSV for the first time. Pregnant women and older adults can receive a vaccine, while the antibody shot Beyfortus helps prevent the virus in babies.
As you know,
the near death of Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin during a football game in January spurred a national movement to teach more people CPR. Screening guidelines for breast and lung cancer were updated in hopes of saving more lives. The American Cancer Society lowered the age for a yearly low-dose CT scan to 50 for people who smoke or formerly smoked a pack a day for 20 years, or 2 packs a day for 10 years. And the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force now says women should begin regular mammograms at the age of 40 rather than 50. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Still ahead, away in the manger, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. But the cattle aren't lowing after the sheep escaped the nativity scene at a Boston church. The details on their breakout when we return to CBS 7 News at 9 on the CW. Well, before we go, hear this. A pair of sheep in Boston who were supposed to be in a church's live nativity scene on Christmas Eve, well, they ended up on the lamb. The animals got away from the church and led police on a wild goose chase. Look at this.
Lambs, a black one and a white one, they're free. And they're causing some congestion here.
As you heard, a Polish church in South Boston was getting ready for the nativity scene, but the day before the year's most attended mass, an elusive white and black sheep managed to escape from the church. The animals were rescued and brought back safely, Tom, before their big moment on stage. What a way to end that story.
Something else there.
Safe and sound. Well, thanks for joining us here at 9. We'll see you over on CBS 7 for the news at 10.